been a guest on a few shows and done a few things that he's worked on, and so we always chat.
Under the flashing lights of Cannes, Kristen Stewart stands barefoot on the red carpet, calm, defiant, and untouchably herself. Cameras explode in a storm of flashes, but she doesn't flinch. Behind those sharp eyes is a story far wilder than any script she's ever read. Once called Hollywood's reluctant star, Kristen didn't chase fame. Fame crashed into her life like a tidal wave. From a quiet girl on Los Angeles film sets to the face of a billion-dollar saga, she became both worshipped and hunted. Every step she took, the world judged. Every word she spoke, the media twisted. But there was something about her. Raw, unapologetic, unpredictable. When the world demanded perfection, she gave them truth. When Hollywood built walls, she kicked them down in sneakers and eyeliner. How did a girl who never wanted the spotlight become one of the most fearless, controversial, and respected artists of her generation? This is the untold story of Kristen Stewart, the rebel who never played by Hollywood's rules. Kristen Jamie Stewart was born on April 9, 1990, in Los Angeles, California, right in the beating heart of Hollywood. But for Kristen, the city of dreams never felt like home. Her father, John Stewart, worked as a stage manager and television producer. Her mother, Jules Mann Stewart, was a script supervisor from Australia. Both parents lived behind the camera, and that's exactly where Kristen thought she belonged. As a child, she was quiet, observant, more comfortable watching than speaking. She hated attention. At school, she felt like an outsider, too awkward, too restless, too honest. While other kids dreamed of being on stage, Kristen was the one building stories in her head, lost somewhere between rebellion and imagination. But destiny had a different plan. One day, during a small school Christmas play, a casting agent noticed her intensity. Not the smile, but the eyes. They weren't the eyes of a performer pretending. They were real, raw, searching. From that moment, her life quietly tilted toward the spotlight. Yet even as a child, she resisted it. She didn't want to be famous. She wanted to be understood. And that quiet longing would soon collide with the chaotic power of Hollywood itself. Kristen's first steps into acting came quietly, almost by accident. At just 9 years old, she landed a tiny, uncredited role in Disney's The 13th Year. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't even memorable. But to her, being on set felt like entering another world, one that didn't ask her to smile, but to feel. In 2002, she caught her first real break, starring opposite Jodie Foster in David Fincher's Panic Room. As a diabetic daughter trapped in a house under siege, Kristen delivered a performance so mature, so tense, that critics called her a young actress with old eyes. Jodie Foster herself described her as instinctively real. For a while, she thought she could handle it. The sets, the scripts, the long hours. But the fame that followed made her uncomfortable. Interviews felt like interrogation rooms. She didn't know how to fake charm or flirt with cameras. The industry didn't quite know what to do with her. A child actor who didn't want to be one. But Kristen kept working. Speak, 2004. Zathura, 2005. Into the Wild, 2007. Each role peeling back another layer of who she was becoming. And then, a casting call arrived that would change everything. A love story about vampires, high school, and eternal devotion. It wasn't just another role. It was the beginning of a phenomenon, and the end of her anonymity. When Kristen Stewart walked into the audition room for Twilight, she had no idea she was stepping into a cultural storm. The role of Bella Swan, quiet, conflicted, caught between love and danger, felt strangely familiar. It wasn't just acting. It was her. In 2008, the first film premiered, and overnight, Kristen became the face of a global phenomenon. The Twilight saga exploded into a multi-billion-dollar franchise, redefining teen cinema and celebrity culture. Crowds screamed her name in airports. Paparazzi chased her cars. Her image was plastered across billboards, lunchboxes, and magazine covers. To millions, she was Bella, the symbol of romantic obsession. But inside, she was falling apart. The spotlight she never wanted had swallowed her whole. Every gesture was analyzed, every glance misinterpreted. She was called emotionless, awkward, even ungrateful. But beneath that silence was exhaustion, the cost of becoming a symbol. Alongside Robert Pattinson, the on-screen romance turned real, and suddenly, their love story wasn't just a movie, it was public property. The media turned them into mythology. The world demanded they be perfect. By the time Breaking Dawn ended, Kristen was no longer the shy girl from LA. She was one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood, but also one of its most misunderstood. Behind the fame, behind the flashbulbs, she began to wonder if she had traded her voice for applause. And when she finally tried to take it back, the world wasn't ready for what came next. In 2012, at the height of her fame, Kristen Stewart's world shattered overnight. Photos surfaced, blurry, invasive, unforgiving. They showed her with Rupert Sanders, the married director of Snow White and the Huntsman. Within hours, headlines screamed betrayal. The internet devoured her. The media didn't just cover the story. They dissected her life. The girl once worshipped as Bella Swan was now branded a villain, homewrecker, disgrace, fallen idol. The words stung like open wounds. Fans burned posters. Studios went silent. Even her relationship with Robert Pattinson, once Hollywood's golden couple, collapsed under the weight of the scandal. For months, Kristen vanished. No interviews, no premieres, no apologies, just silence. But behind that silence was a storm. Shame, anger, and the aching realization of how fragile fame really was. She once said, "If you take too much of yourself away, there's nothing real left to give." In losing everything, she found something else: clarity. Hollywood turned its back, but Kristen didn't beg to return. She walked away, into smaller sets, foreign directors, raw scripts that didn't care about red carpets. She chose art over image, truth over perfection. Her fall became her liberation, because sometimes you have to break in public to heal in private. And for Kristen Stewart, the comeback wouldn't be about fame. It would be about freedom. Out of the ashes of scandal, Kristen Stewart did something few in Hollywood ever dared. She started over, not with blockbusters or press tours, but with silence, art, and rebellion. She turned toward the independent scene, the quiet spaces where honesty mattered more than perfection. Camp X-Ray 2014, Clouds of Sils Maria 2014, Personal Shopper 2016. Each film stripped away another mask. The performances were haunting, intimate, almost uncomfortable to watch. She wasn't performing anymore. She was revealing. Critics who once dismissed her now called her fearless. In France, she made history, becoming the first American actress ever to win a César Award, the country's highest film honor. At the same time, Kristen began living more openly. She came out publicly, unapologetically, refusing to let Hollywood dictate who she could love. With her messy hair, unfiltered honesty, and gender-fluid style, she became a new kind of icon, one defined by truth, not image. In interviews, she spoke softly but with conviction. "I don't want to hide. That's not me anymore." Kristen Stewart was no longer the reluctant starlet of Twilight. She was an artist, raw, brave, and finally free to be seen on her own terms. Today, Kristen Stewart stands as one of the few Hollywood stars who truly escaped Hollywood. She doesn't chase trends or bow to the system. She chooses projects that scare her, challenge her, and speak to something raw inside. From the global hysteria of Twilight to her intimate portrayal of Princess Diana in Spencer, Kristen has rewritten what it means to be a movie star. She turned rebellion into art and vulnerability into strength. To her fans, she is no longer Bella Swan or a scandal's headline. She's a symbol of authenticity, proof that you can lose everything and still come back stronger, sharper, and more yourself than ever before. Hollywood once tried to define her. Now she defines Hollywood's next generation. Kristen Stewart's journey proves that you don't have to play by Hollywood's rules to leave your mark on it. Her story isn't about perfection, It's about honesty. It's about finding beauty in being misunderstood. And maybe that's what makes her unforgettable. If you believe in staying real in a world that rewards pretending, like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from Stars and Scandals.